morning, everybody. What a beautiful, bright morning it is. I'm actually sitting out looking at the beach right now, and there are people, it's 2 degrees, but there are people swimming in the sea. So hardy folk down here on the south coast. So anyway, but yeah, it's absolutely wonderful to have you. This is our first time running the CMA Breakfast Symposium. The idea of this is that we are looking to interview movers and shakers, leaders, business leaders in our field of complementary medicine, and really kind of take a bit of a deep dive with them to find out why they've had success, where they've had success, any sticking points, any difficulties, any challenges that they've had to face along the way of building their companies, and what could be done about that. What have they been able to do to overcome any challenges? Now, obviously, I know that we're not all in the business of selling products or service. Well, we are in the business of selling services if we're practitioners or running training schools, of course, but we may not necessarily be in the business of actually selling physical goods. But it doesn't matter, because you know what, the information from a business building perspective is fairly generic. And so this is how we came up with this idea of having a breakfast symposium, so we can pick the brains of people who've sort of been there, seen it, done it, and got the T-shirt, and learn from that. So I'm super excited today to introduce you to Luke Goddard. And yes, you may have spotted a similar surname, in fact identical. Luke is my brother. Now, before everybody goes nepotism, it's my great privilege to have this incredible guy as my brilliant brother, and just all-round superstar, because Luke is amazing. He's a serial entrepreneur who's been very, very successful throughout his life. So I felt it was wonderful to bring Luke on, because he has this incredible, unique perspective on building all sorts of different businesses. And we're also joined again by super entrepreneur Nabila Gutierrez. And Nabila, you're also a really dyed-in-the-wool entrepreneur, aren't you? So what and these guys are the managing directors of Zukr. Now, Zukr is a sugar substitute that's actually healthy. Now, before you all go, oh yeah, what is it as really delicious as some of the other sugar substitutes out there, which we know are not delicious at all, I can actually testify to this, and I know you can as well, Roberta, because it looks like sugar, it behaves like sugar, it tastes like sugar. But it's actually good for you. So I'm not the expert. I will get the guys to tell you about it. And so I just want to pass it over to you guys and say a very, very warm welcome to you. And could you start by telling us a bit about the product, and a little bit perhaps about your backgrounds and how you came to realize that there was this gap in the market, which I think is crucial for any entrepreneur to be able to see or figure out how to figure out and see a gap in the market, if that makes any sense, and how to capitalize upon that gap.
Do you want to go first, Nabila, and say what your how you got you had discovered it from our perspective, and then I'll say how I got into it.
Yeah, sure. So good morning, everyone. Such a delight to be here. Thank you so much for hosting us this morning, Janie. And so, yes, Zukr, quick overview. I discovered this. I actually suffer from lupus, so an inflammatory disease, and I realized that sugar is not my friend, although I was addicted to it. I love baking. I'm a real sort of in the kitchen person. I'm from a Latin American background, and we just love being in the kitchen, cooking, baking, doing all that yummy stuff, and entertaining and hosting people. Unfortunately, a lot of our foods are full of sugar, and sugar is not my friend. It causes inflammation in my body, and I'm sure all of you know all the detrimental health effects. I'm also, by the way, a healthcare professional. I'm a midwife by profession, so I know just how toxic sugar is. And a couple of years ago, I went on a journey, a quest, if you like, to look for an alternative, something that was palatable and was able to be used in the kitchen. And I came across erythritol, which is what Zukr is made of. And I used it in cooking, and then last year, by coincidence, chance, or fate, I met Luke, and fed him some Zukr and let him try some in his coffee. He said, "This is sugar." I said, "No." We had a little mini argument, and there was the birth of Zukr, where we realized, oh my goodness, this behaves like sugar, tastes like sugar. And Luke, with his vision as in his entrepreneurial skills and my marketing background and healthcare background skills, that was the inception of Zukr. And we've been running this show now for a year. Zukr is erythritol. Our erythritol is 100% organic, natural, non-GMO erythritol, and it tastes, feels, and behaves just like sugar. It can be replaced one for one. It's slightly less sweet than sugar, which I think is a good thing, but it can be used one for one in exactly the same way as sugar without any aftertaste, and many, many health benefits, including antioxidant properties. It is zero GI, it does not spike blood sugar, and it doesn't have any of the gastrointestinal, i.e. digestive side effects. It's a plant polyol, and it doesn't have the same digestive side effects that other plant polyols have, such as xylitol. And also importantly, for people who love their pets, it is not poisonous to dogs as xylitol is. So it is a very safe product, and it's been around for 170 years. Over to Luke now.
Yeah. Well, morning, everybody. Yes, yeah. And my initial reaction to it was this is a strange name product, and you start off a little bit sort of thinking, well, how have I not heard about this before? And it is annoying actually that this has been around for 170 years. It was discovered by a Scottish scientist back in 1848, and he actually discovered erythritol by he actually took originally some blackstrap molasses and fermented it, and then discovered erythritol through that. So it's been around for many, many years. And one of the things that as I said just now, that I found most frustrating is, why didn't I know about this before? And one of the things that brought me really on board and sort of kicked things off for me was that I am a shocker for wanting sugar in coffee. I like coffee extremely strong. I like, I'll go into a high street coffee vendor and say, "Can I have 4 shots of espresso and 5 sugars, please?" And so so it was at that point that Nabila and I were about to, and I was frustrated because I didn't have any Zukr with me. So I carry it in the car now. And one of the first things that I wanted to do is I wanted to swap all of the stick packs within the sugar or the coffee houses over to erythritol. So this was one of the things that when we first started talking about the business, we said, what a massive transition and difference it would make to people, the public, if they could have, how could we get erythritol into stick packs in all of the coffee houses in all of the UK outlets? We then found that, I'll name them because we are intending to approach them with this idea, but found out that Costa give away 3 million sugar stick packs a month. It's a incredible amount. So that was one of the things that then brought me into the business, and we said, well, what else can we do? Because the issue that we realized that we had is that there was going to be a cost associated with because sugar is cheap, and erythritol is obviously has a more of a more process involved in order to extract erythritol. Therefore, there's obviously, it is more expensive as a product. So at that point, what we said is, what else can we do? What other ideas can we do to actually bring more people on board with this product and get them introduced to it? So we started back in Nabila's kitchen, really developing more products, didn't we? The cakes. Could you carry on with the cakes?
Yeah, so one of the interesting things, other than the product development, which is a lot of fun, because we just made this awesome chocolate fudge cake, which is just mind-blowingly delicious with no sugar in it, and it just blows your mind that you think you can eat all the delicious food without all the consequences. And that's one of the things that we're really passionate about, that food should be part of our pleasurable sensory experience of life. we shouldn't have to compromise pleasure to be healthy. We shouldn't have to, and this is a perfect way for us to be able to combine the two things and still be on a health journey. So that is part of our health promotion. And I'm a research nurse at the moment working in government in UK HSA. So one of the things that really I'm passionate about is to ensure that whatever advice and products we launch are very much rooted in scientific evidence. And we've got at the moment a whole R&D department that we're going to be launching for our brand, to ensure again that it's underpinned by solid science. And we've got one researcher that's currently doing and undertaking a systematic review of the literature and has already looked at 400 papers on the science around erythritol. And one of the things we realize is that it's been around for a long time, been being used by the food industry for a long time. It's not been available to mums in the kitchen like me. And that's partly because it's a very niche product. It can be an expensive product, but also it's not being marketed and branded for people like me. And so one of the main issues that we are facing in terms of our campaigning is to ensure that we make this product appealing to a mass market and to ensure that it is accessible to all. So we're looking at different strategies for the business to ensure that it is, we make it accessible to the people that most are in need in the obesity crisis that we face in the UK. That means deprived communities, and looking at strategies, economic strategies to support those communities and to make this product accessible to them, to support British industry, and to ensure that all the every element of our business is underpinned by solid scientific research. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Thank you. That's absolutely fantastic. So I guess my first question for you then is to sort of essentially play devil's advocate, because you guys are going head to head with some massive companies. I mean, you are going head to head with Big Food and by extension with Big Pharma, because of course they're all sort of linked in together, and Big Agriculture. So does that, first of all, not scare you? And secondly, what do you do? I mean, what are the steps that you're taking in order to be able to safeguard your product so that some great big company just doesn't come along and stomp all over it? I think this is something that a lot of us in complementary medicine, if we sort of think, well, I've got a brilliant idea, I've spotted the gap in the market, which you guys have done so brilliantly, but there are these massive, humongous competitors out there that are going to gobble me up. So what are your thoughts about that? What's your sort of your strategy?
Luke?
Yeah, well, one of the things I was going to say that we've discussed this at length, and that there are two sides to that answer. The first is that we have approached the business on the basis that we are, our ethos is that we're wanting to do this as a national health campaign. So therefore, if there was somebody that then said, hey, this is really great, we're going to, and say, for example, somebody that's already producing or selling the product in the UK, if they started ramping things up, they would actually assist us. So we said, well, if that was a situation where we have more competitors, that's a good thing, because that means that more people within the UK will be consuming the product. The one thing, though, that we have done very carefully is that we've looked at the branding, and this is something that Nabila will talk about in a second, about the whole branding and the marketing side, because how we complement each other is that we have different skills. Mine are very much so in the sort of the looking at the business and the operations side, and Nabila's taking care of a lot of the marketing. Now, what we've decided is that we would grow the brand name. And so therefore, the way in which we've actually tried to protect ourselves is to say, well, actually, we're now a year down the road from anybody else. We've got this product recognized by various by people, and so we've kind of de-risked it from that perspective, in that we would say, yes, if there is a big player that comes into the market, but that then means that the whole country consumes 50% less sugar or sucrose, that's a win for us. So we've taken it on a slightly different, and again, the market itself is going to take a long time to shift away from sugar, and we know that we're in it for the long haul. We don't expect that. So Nabila, can you talk about how we came up with the name and everything?
Yeah, so Zukr was one of, we did a whole branding exercise at the beginning of the business, and we wanted to come up with a name that was appealing. Erythritol in the focus groups that we've had amongst our friends, some people have said it sounds like a urinary tract infection. Like, what is that name? So we thought that is not a great name for a business, so we will not call it that. So we wanted to come up with something that invoked happiness, sweetness, delight, all of the loveliness that we love in terms of the sweet food, a feel-good factor that we get. And so we came up with a name that reflected that could be used internationally as well, that was short, 4 letters, ZUKR, and that could be easily translated into other languages. So Zukr is actually in German is sugar, in Arabic it's sugar, in Spanish azúcar, which is very similar, and it can be easily pronounced in different languages in different regions. So we came up with a short, snappy name, did a branding exercise, consulted with very well-established branding experts, and were given really big thumbs up on this, and then looked at the colours and the appeal factor, and so we came up with the hot pink logo that looks like candy and makes you feel sweet and great. So we want everything of the business, whether it's working with us in a team setting, or whether it's the customer experience, we want everyone to feel happy all down the food chain. So we are very, very committed to making this a very ethical business, an internationally recognized business that it stands out for its ethics, for its ecological values, for its values in supporting the organic food industry and producers, and also supporting the general public and the user end, to ensure that we are committed to creating a strong health message that doesn't take away from pleasure of food. So that's very important. And lastly, just wanted to say, in terms of creating a strong route to market, we decided to take a very strong approach on the B2C side to really create a strong customer base, and that would become our raving fans around the product. And then it's very difficult for bigger businesses to argue with consumers. Because then we would have created a whole community, a whole brand, a community where people are not just given a product that sits on the shelf, but are supported to use it and to make lifestyle changes that are impacting. So that is because we have a strong commitment to ensure that we are contributing to the health of the nation in the post-pandemic period. I think that is a lot different to wanting to sell a product. So we have a strong ethos around our aims and objectives that I think big brands and pharmaceutical companies don't have.
Very true. Yes, absolutely. Now, Luke, you and I were speaking yesterday, just very briefly, when we were prepping for this meeting, and I found it very interesting that you were talking about sampling, because Nabila just talked about route to market, and I think a lot of people are very much under the impression that if they've got a physical product, particularly like this, a food type product, that you've got to get into Holland and Barrett or Tesco's or wherever, to actually sort of get everything moving. But you and I were talking about more of a grassroots approach and sampling. And I thought that was very, very interesting, your perspective on sampling. So can you share some of your thoughts about, how you're going to get this product out there even more? It's already doing really, really well, but what would be your next steps, and what do you think people can learn from what you've done so far and where you're going next with this?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Well, in fact, when I just quickly nipped out so I could pop this product thing, you can actually then see people see the actual the product there. There we are. Let's put it there. And you can see the shocking pink. Yeah. So yes, a product like this, obviously in a pouch, what we knew would not be a successful way of getting this out to market would be to approach the supermarkets, because as Nabila and I discussed, that's a bit of a race to the bottom in terms of pricing, and you're then in a price war, and so that wouldn't be something that we would necessarily want to engage in, because we are, as a new business, it's like anything, your economy of scale really only kicks in when you're bringing things in by the ton. Now, when you're a new business, to throw a lot of money into something like buying product is obviously very risky, particularly when you need to get people to come on board with the idea and show that, you know, people actually do like it. So what we decided to do is market and sell this by adding more value. So the things that when we were in the product development side, we said, well, you know, Zukr brownies as a kit, you know, if you're selling people an entire kit so that they haven't got to weigh out their flour or their chocolate, you can get a brownie kit that's sugar-free, gluten-free, just add a little bit of something like coconut oil from your cupboard, you know, that a lot of people, vegetarians, etc., will have, and vegans, obviously, they would have in their cupboard. And you can make all of these lovely cakes. But as I say, with that, you can then do that from a small amount of Zukr. So again, it was all about adding value. So the samples that what we're doing at the moment is marketing it by giving away the Zukr, asking people to cover the cost of the shipping, but then adding more value. So we will be including a 5-step plan to ditching sugar. We'll be including recipe books. And so therefore the value, I'll let Nabila talk about the additional products that are in that, and then what their further steps are, because by doing so, you then you take the risk away from people as well. Could you talk, Nabila, a bit more about those things?
So one of the things that we were very, very committed in doing is creating the public health campaign around this, but creating communities, so peer support groups online where people can receive love, support, and information, and up-to-date and relevant information to their achieving their health success and happiness and well-being around reduction in sugar consumption. So we've created this great offer. So it's a free plus shipping offer, and they receive a 5-step plan. They receive resources and downloads that are all sort of up-to-date evidence-based research. So a whole pack of research of usable downloads and things that will help them on the journey to reduce sugar and to know the consequences, obviously, of using high sugar diets. And then they can also subscribe to receiving a 5-step sort of video course, a short course in helping them actually do that. So mums in the kitchen, you know, in the trenches together, trying to get a family to reduce sugar, which is a really big ask when children can be very much addicted to it, can have a meltdown, because all these things. So really looking at what are the user issues and the problems around sugar reduction, and how can we best make that journey easy for them, appealing for them, fun. And then lastly, you know, we will be part of creating a subscription plan for people to receive packs of our Zukr every month, but also to be part of a baking and fitness club, a community. So you just think, how can you be fit and bake? We're committed to making that happen. So we want people, because baking is part of, you know, has been much with Bake Off and other sorts of programs on the TV, and I love watching them. But you just think the amount of sugar that this is encouraging people to consume is quite scary. But we don't want to take away from that pleasure of being in the kitchen and creating, and that creative loveliness of being in the kitchen.
So to go back to the business model then, what you're talking about there is you're getting people sampling the product, but instead of, as we spoke about very briefly yesterday, Luke, you know, the real difficulties of getting your product out there by giving away free samples, for example, and you know, you and I were saying how, you know, that is an absolute hiding to nothing, because people don't actually attribute any value to products that they are given. It's the same with us in complementary medicine. A lot of people, when they first set up their practice, myself included, I got my little office, my first ever office was in Harley Street, and I started offering, you know, free quarter-of-an-hour consultation. Come and see the homeopath, see if you like the look of this, and see if you think it's going to work for you. And you know what? I had literally nobody come, or people would book and they wouldn't turn up because there was no value associated with what I was offering. Obviously, if I was giving it away free, it couldn't be very good, could it? And this is a real issue. Sampling is a real problem. You've got to get the product into, or service, if you're obviously, you know, providing complementary medical services and so on, you've got to get it into people's hands, but in such a way that they attribute some sort of value to it. So I think what you were saying, Luke, yesterday was very interesting. Could you elaborate on the structure of your giveaway? Nabila's talked about what's in the giveaway, but there's a very clever twist to it, which I think practitioners can definitely learn from. So could you explain what that structure is?
Yes, well, yes. So really, what we've decided is that where we've produced smaller samples for people to try, what we've basically said is that we would like something back from the people. So it's not just a giveaway. Although we can give the product away, we would say to people, in order for us to do that, a bit like I was saying, if I was in the high street, I wouldn't necessarily want to have a stall where people would just walk up to my stall and say, oh, can I take away that free sample? Because like with anything, if people are given a leaflet or a free newspaper, that's something that they would, leave on the tube train or something. They haven't paid anything for it. And so the train ends up littered with things that everybody perceives there to be no value with. So one of the things that I've always believed in, even with booklets or brochures, or if it were a free newspaper that you're giving away, or any article, always put a price on the top corner, because if somebody has a perceived value of something, if you were giving a newsletter, be it somebody within the Complementary Association, and you put £5 on the top of that, and people see that, they will be much more likely to hang on to that article, or even though you've given it to them for nothing, because again, it has that perceived value. The same with us. We wouldn't want to be giving away samples completely free. We need somebody, you need people to engage and actually have a little bit of skin in the game. So that is part of our thinking. It's not that we necessarily want to say to people, we want to charge you for shipping and packing and everything else, even though that is obviously a cost that we can't avoid. What we actually want is we want some engagement from the person and a little bit of commitment, rather than something being totally free. We can add more value to them. We could even say to somebody, what is the quid pro quo? And that's something within business that people should always be looking for. Can we have your email address if we're giving you a free sample, or would you commit to a review for us if we give you a sample? So there's always a bit of give to get type of that. So that was one of the things that I was mentioning to you, that it's very important to get people to engage, give you something in return for the item that you're giving to them to try. So that's
exactly. So what we were talking about yesterday, Luke, was the idea of a self-liquidating offer. Now, I know that a lot of our viewers watching this may not have come across this term previously. So could you explain what that is, and talk a little bit about, obviously, how you've done this, but also how it might translate into any sort of products or services that our members might be offering, for example?
Yes, Nabila, could you talk about the self-liquidating offer and how that works? Because you're the digital marketeer side, and so you know more than I do.
So I think in terms of growing a business, there's never been an opportunity to grow a business more digitally than now. And anybody, I would say, who's an independent in any way should be looking to exploit the digital side, because through social media, this is a unique opportunity that we have now in business that has never been open to us before, to literally take on the entire world and have that world accessible to us at our fingertips. So self-liquidating offer from the digital side is a really great way to grow a business in a bootstrap way, without having to invest millions in advertising, but by doing it in a way where on the front end you are doing something which is a low value offer, as in monetary value, that people feel, well, I don't know very much about this business. Okay, I don't mind spending £5 because that's not going to break the bank. Let's go in. Now you have their email address. Now you have a customer. Once somebody has made the initial purchase, they are now your customer. They are much more likely than 80% more likely to make a further purchase than someone who hasn't, who's just come into your shop, browsed, taken a free sample and walked out. They are very unlikely necessarily to come back, compared to somebody who has made a small value purchase, had a little look around and thought, I like this product, and will come back. Now you have their email address, and that initial front end offer on your website would cover the advertising costs. And by covering those advertising costs, and perhaps a little tiny bit more with a small upsell upsell on the front end of the offer. You then put that money back into advertising and don't touch that money, and anything which is from the second page of the offer onwards. So you take them through a funnel, a sales funnel. So with the front end being the first page of the website, they give their email address and their credit card details. Now they're in your funnel, and they then get offered something else, which is a slight further upsell. And then at we have a 3-step upsell process, which means they have a third offer that they are given, and then that you walk them through the sales process, and anything which is from page 2 onwards in that sales process is profit, is pure profit. And anything from the first page onwards goes back into advertising. So this is a perfect way for small businesses to scale on advertising quickly and without having to invest from their own pockets. Now, digital marketing can cost, people can be spending £10,000 a day, and I'm not exaggerating. It can be extremely expensive, but this is a way to de-risk the advertising costs on the digital side.
Right, that's absolutely brilliant. Thanks. Sorry, Luke, carry on.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, so Nabila's handled a lot of all of the digital side for us, and as she says, that de-risks it, because one of the things that from the point at which the business we started became incorporated till now, we have been very aware that we've got lots of outgoings, and those are the things that we needed to make sure that we got a handle on, because becoming registered with the organic farmers and growers was expensive. The buying of obviously the product, co-packaging, or the companies that charge for packaging as well. So there's an awful lot of cost. And then we've got the product for sale at Amazon, and the Amazon fulfillment is quite a bit of a nightmare. So we've got 2 routes where we've got another company called Habu down in Bristol, and they actually are our distributor as well. So we've got 2 fulfillment houses for the product. So we've had to grow quite carefully, because what we haven't wanted to do is, and obviously if in an ideal world somebody would come at this and say, well, let's throw £100,000 at a business and see what happens, whereas we've done it completely the opposite way around. And in fact, some of this actually we funded by becoming VAT registered. So that's one of the things that I would say, if you're a business and you're looking at getting something out, look at things like VAT registration. Your accountant might say to you, oh, you don't need to VAT register until you're over £70,000-80,000 turnover. But actually, when you're a new business, VAT registration is very important, because you're then claiming all the VAT back on things that you're buying, and then you're actually able to fund other parts of your business through the VAT reclaim. So you're claiming VAT back on a lot of your costs. So that's something I would say be aware of. Be very aware of the costs and and things that you can actually do. And in fact, that's one of the things that we're looking at now, is the grants for the research and development. And we've got a chap that's Cambridge University graduate who's working with us on the grant side, because there are some big grants out there for research and development, particularly within this type of business, that we can then go as well and start talking to people like Bangor and Aberystwyth University, because we formed an association with Business Wales, and they've been very helpful to us, because ideally what we would like is some help with regard to having a production facility within the UK, so we can actually be the first people to produce erythritol in the UK with UK vegetables.
That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's fantastic. So with the VAT, you're immediately recouping 20% of money that you could have just simply, just spent.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is that,
yes.
With the R&D, are you, because obviously there are huge tax breaks for R&D as well, so I presume that you're working with your accountant to recoup sort of any monies that are spent on R&D. Are you doing that?
Yes, absolutely. And one of the things, again, that doing a bit of your own research and not just relying on, people sometimes have got an accountant or a friend that will do their books, but do a bit of your own research, because there are different accountants. Some accountants don't actually know about the R&D side. So what we can do is we can retrospectively claim for our time on research and development for this product, going back, say, a year or more. I don't know exactly how far back you can go, but you can then you can actually say, or the accountant can say, right, well, for R&D, we will put down that you have been working on this business for 40 hours a week, multiply that by an hourly rate, and then that amount of money over that period of that year, say, you would then be able to take that off your any profit that you've been making, and then you wouldn't pay tax on that. Not all accountants understand the R&D side of that, but it is available. It's all over the government website. The government make quite a big thing of it in terms of people making sure people do claim for the R&D.
Very interesting you should say that, Luke, because I've spoken to 3 separate accountants who have not understood R&D, and a couple have said, "Oh no, that's really, really complicated. Oh no, we don't want to start going down that route." So I'm really glad to hear you say that you have, that it is possible to actually get accountants who do know about this. It's not a loophole. I mean, it's a genuine, it's a genuine thing that you can do, as you clearly explain, which is brilliant. So yes, and the other thing I think is very interesting is that you've been able to liaise, sort of get involved with a university to get sort of more research done and support and so on. So how did you go about doing that? Because I know this is a question that we get asked a lot within the CMA. A lot of the time we're approached by people saying, "I really want to do research in my particular field." It may be for their particular complementary medical discipline, or it may be for a course they're teaching, or it may indeed be for a product that they're producing. How does one get a foot in the door with a university?
Oh, well, that was relatively straightforward, and I would recommend again anybody that is launching a business, get involved in the meetings, the breakfast meetings, any events that you can where you can network. Again, what happened actually with Bangor and Aberystwyth University is that they've got a very large R&D facility, and it's brand new up on Anglesey, in fact. And and what happened was we were introduced, and they did a whole presentation via Business Wales. So when we were involved with the early presentations, and Business Wales were talking about this is the assistance we can give to businesses, these are the introductions we can make. And in fact, on one of the it was a presentation that the universities actually did to the people within the webinar, and they presented their whole R&D side and saying almost that it was a sales pitch almost from the university saying we can help people with their in our case the food side of things, and help with the R&D, because for us it's very important to take this further to do a number of things. We would like to have Zukr removed from the polyol category, because as a blanket, the polyols need to carry all polyols, where xylitol, sorbitol, and obviously in our case erythritol, have to carry the fact that it may cause excessive consumption. It says may cause a laxative effect. Well, we need to go back to the universities and say, let's relook at this again, and actually to see if we can actually remove that, because just lumping them all together, whereas the others do potentially have a laxative effect, we believe that erythritol doesn't, because it is how it operates within the body. So that's something that we need the universities to do. We would also like the universities to get involved with us in terms of the cost of production, because one of the things about it is, yes, there is a production cost. Yes, we want to produce it in the UK, use the vegetables that the UK farmers have, and then obviously get it produced in a facility in the UK. So again, we need to look at the cost of the production and make sure that that's a viable side of things. The other thing that with the systematic review is that there are papers that show that there are more health benefits than just things like the oral health and recalcifying of things like teeth. We believe also that there's strong evidence to say that there are further health benefits within for internal organs. So that's something that we want to also do. And so there are a number of things that universities can help us with, and also by doing this and underpinning a lot of the science, it gives the product more credibility. And then the thing with that is that the public are going to feel more confident. If that's an issue for people, if it's, you know, purely that, if it is a confidence thing, or we haven't heard about it, it's new, where's it come from? If it's underpinned by some science and some of the university papers, then that's another good story.
I
Yeah,
think
that's absolutely super. Sorry, Nabila, you're just going to say.
yeah, just really quickly, just on that, is also on the B2B side that's very important in terms of developing that. And I think if any business is looking to expand on research, is looking at objectives that their business can contribute to. That might be on sort of a wider campaigning side. It may be that you know, your business or product or service aligns. What does it align with in terms of some of the key objectives that may be out there in the health world, and how then you can work backwards from that to find partnership opportunities with universities and with you know, research bodies. So I think sort of having a backwards way of thinking and saying what objectives, what contribution does my business make in a specific area, and how can I then look at the research to make sure that the contribution can go even further. So I think having that kind of way of thinking is helpful.
That's absolutely fantastic, because I think so many of us in this field often think, oh gosh, you know, university isn't going to speak to me. You know, I work in the field of natural health care, and I think we're very sort of wedded to the idea that universities, of course, you know, and research is funded by a lot of big organizations. And so I think a lot of us sort of wouldn't even be able to necessarily have the confidence to put a foot over the threshold. And so this is absolutely music to my ears, that it, you know, to know that it can be done, and to see that you've done it so successfully. So just before we come to an end, what I want to do is just put you on the spot now, both of you, and say, is there anything that you would have done differently? Were there any pitfalls that you came across? Is there anything that you look back on with the benefit of 2020 hindsight and think, do you know what, we could have done that differently? Anything that you feel anybody launching a product or service could potentially learn from?
Nabila, would you like to go first, or want to?
You start.
Okay. Yeah. Well, funnily enough, it was one of the things that Nabila and I were talking about and saying, you know, and I mentioned earlier on, why didn't we know about this before? I mean, yes, would I have? What would I have done differently? Yes, I would have launched this product back in the 70s, because back in the 70s, I used to cover my cornflakes with and Weetabix with, you know, spoonfuls of sugar. Had massive tooth decay, because one of the things that we have found when we've taste tested the product on our children is that they absolutely go mad for it. We've made sherbet, so we've got the sherbet dib dabs that people may remember from the 70s, and all of these things that we love. And the thing is, when you put it in drinks, funnily enough, on the systematic review, the lady that's doing that for us, she said, one of the things about Europe is that the Europeans have said they weren't all that keen to allow erythritol to be used in soft drinks, because they said that they thought children may then start drinking more soft drinks to lose weight. We were sort of like staggered that, yeah, you know, and that's really odd, because you know, it's sort of almost a well-known fact that people you know, that there are people that drink a lot of sugary drinks and find it difficult to lose weight, and people that are slimmer generally, or with a lower BMI, tend to drink water. So there's all, you know, so people know about drinking things that don't have calories in. So anyway, so we need to start doing. Undoing a lot of the things that have been said about this product, that we need to start knocking down those doors. Yes, getting you know, for me, starting this earlier would have been the thing, because we're, you know, with the pandemic, where people have been moving around less, people have put in a few extra pounds. And the one thing, if I was going to say there's one massive takeaway on this product that I find, is that it's not that the product has no calories, it's that the product doesn't spike your sugar level, and then you don't feel hungry. And so that's the golden takeaway on this, is that you lose weight consuming Zukr because you're not spiking your blood sugar. You then go longer, you have a longer burn on the things that you've been the eating. And with my son, he's been going to school with Zukr sprinkled on his porridge, which then means that he's not falling asleep by 10 o'clock, 11, 10:30, can't concentrate in the classroom because he's not getting a sugar spike from something like jam on toast, or we used to put golden syrup on porridge. And again, you get the sugar crash. The other thing that I'm doing as well, that I would have liked to have started earlier, is I'm working with one of my avatars for this product is cyclists. And one of the things that I used to suffer with on a bicycle is a sugar crash. And the problem with that is then you can't see. So when you can't read, when you can't read a computer because your eyesight's going from a sugar crash, I mean, you might get a bit wobbly on your bicycle as well. Again, this is the thing that a lot of sports people, they need to avoid sugar because of that crash. And particularly if you're on a bicycle, you need to have probably things like Zukr brownies or something in your back pocket and a banana, rather than some of the gels that are being sold. So yeah, so I think that's what I would do. My takeaway on it really would be, I would have loved to have started this years ago before I had lots of dental work done.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But obviously, you haven't got the benefit of a TARDIS, so that's unfortunate.
That's
But Nabila, has there been any sort of sticking point that you've found that that you can look back on and say, "Gosh, we would have done that differently"? Anything that you feel translates to potentially other businesses as well?
I think, with hindsight, I think we should have, although I'm really pleased with the roadmap that we've created, I think having that confidence earlier on to make those decisions more swiftly, with the hindsight that we have now and the wisdom that we have now, is that we shouldn't have made any hesitation to move forward with this, and to keep moving forward with this at speed, because one of the things is that people need this transformation yesterday. They don't need it now. The speed at which we need to grow this business is unbelievable. And so we are going to, I think, forging those relationships earlier on, moving faster and having more confidence to move faster on this. I think that would be my reflection, is if we could do it all again, do it quicker, do it the same, but do it quicker.
Yes, absolutely fantastic. So, as far as doing things faster is concerned, I mean, what would you have done faster? I'm just sort of thinking about anybody watching this. Is there anything you can particularly put your finger on?
Yeah, I can. I can say that some of the registrations, for instance, the organic certification, the trademarking, those things take time. So the sooner you put them in, the better. And obviously, a limited company status registration, that can be done really quickly. But having that established earlier on is going to be better for you, because then in terms from the business side, you get your credit scoring, built up over time, and you're able to make more relationships if you're a limited company in terms of the B2B side, which is a very strange thing, but it's one of the things that exists. And certainly that the registrations can take a few months to put into place, getting the inspections, that kind of stuff. So I think getting those in as quickly as possible, if you're intending on becoming an organic business, get those applications in quickly, because they can take a while to come through.
That's really useful.
I think also, yes, I was going to say all of the admin side and the things like work out what your route to market is, was things like setting yourself up if you're selling through somebody like Amazon takes a little while. The other thing that you can be doing is looking at all of the other aspects to what you're doing. For example, if you're a practitioner and you're thinking that you could perhaps launch a book, get that get that ready and done as fast as you can. Probably create an audiobook as well to go with that, and then and utilizing all of the other things, so that if you're giving, or you've got, as Nabila said earlier, work out what your things like your front end offer will be, and then all of the additional things, whether it's your book, whether it's an ebook. And a lot of those things are in many ways administrative tasks. So having your accountant in place, your VAT registration, your all of the things like the company's house side of things, get all of those things done as early as you can. And then the other thing is what we have found has been something that get all the credibility for what you're doing and selling going as early as possible, because the earlier you get your reviews, the earlier you get everything set up, the faster you're actually going to get to market with it. That's
Absolutely.
what I would say.
I think all businesses now absolutely depend on things like Trustpilot reviews, that kind of thing. So get those assets in as early as possible if you've already got a product or a service that you're offering, because people will Google you if they're going to buy something from you. They want to see that there is, there are some reviews there for them to have that assurance when they're buying something that they've never heard of. So get all those things in as quickly as possible.
Absolutely brilliant, thank you. Do we have any questions from our viewers at all? Is there anything that you would like to ask while we've got Luke and Nabila here? Is there anything that particularly is relevant to your own business? I'll just throw that open to the floor. By all means, pop a message in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself if you would like to do so.
Bill's got a question, I think. Bill, have you got a question? Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry I arrived right 4 minutes late and I missed the beginning, but I'm intrigued. What I missed, I think, I don't know, I can't find it when I looked online. What are the actual ingredients in your Zukr? It sounded so interesting.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's 100% organic erythritol. So one of the things I mentioned at the outset is that erythritol was discovered, it's a plant polyol, and discovered in 1848 by a Scottish scientist. And that was through a fermentation. And so simply, you take something like sweet corn, you extract the sweetness from it, you then ferment it with yeast, and all of the calories fall out, and you're left with a polyol. And that's all it is. It is simply, are you involved with erythritol? I notice you're Living Foods.
No, but I'm concerned with all. To me, sugar is sugar is sugar. But don't worry, I'm not. I'm intrigued to check yours out now. I've got to go downtown later anyway, so I shall have a look in the stores. I like to try all things out.
Yes.
And as you say, it's not addictive. No. And that's what's important, because a lot of the so-called sugar replacements, because everyone says it's sugar-free, and then it's full of dates or full of this and full of that. And to me, it's sugar is sugar is sugar. Don't get me wrong, I love the taste as well. Don't get me wrong. I've got nothing here at the moment except my green juice. But I like to check these things out, and this will be really interesting. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem at all. I mean, one of the things is that this product. I mean, erythritol is widely available, and and a lot of people do say to us, "Yeah, I've heard about that," and they say, "Oh yes, I've got some toothpaste, and that's got it in." Or somebody looks at the back of a drink, they may pick up some something that's I think kombucha has some, isn't it, Nabila, that you've noticed in the supermarket?
So I've noticed now that some drinks manufacturers are actually starting to put this in, and we are looking at forging some great relationships with them, because we want to look at a world where cake isn't toxic, where we can eat cake, and a world where we can have fizzy drinks that are good for us. Now, I actually found one the other day. I know it's mind blowing. I'm a research nurse. I'm a health professional. To me, immediately my body tenses up when I hear the word fizzy drink, because of all the toxic stuff that's in there. That I found a couple of businesses, one making kombucha and the other one actually making water kefir, both of which were using erythritol as the sweetener. And I was so happy. I was like, yes, because particularly the water kefir had all the both of them have probiotic elements to it. And so good for your teeth and good for your gut, and you're drinking it and it's delicious. I mean, what not to love about that?
Yeah. Jill, I would say that you and I are very, very aligned nutritionally. I've tried to knock holes in this product to figure out, well, where does it fall down? And I would say I'm really I'm seriously impressed with it. So, yeah, I would, Jill, give it a go. And I know Roberta, you've tried it, haven't you?
I have. I tried it from a different perspective in that in a rural area where we have lots of bake sales and coffee mornings for Ukraine and things like that. And the last coffee morning, 2 hours, we raised £700, basically by selling tea and cakes and a sales table. So I tried it out for that and it worked beautifully. And I did ask the people that bought or donated for my baking what they thought. I wanted a taste test, if you know what I mean. And actually they didn't see any difference and neither did their family. So I think, that's a great thing as well. Something I thought about, maybe perhaps we could have your website as well. We know it's available on Amazon, but maybe if there's somewhere we can buy it directly, maybe people would be interested in that too, if they don't like maybe to use Amazon. Maybe something you could let us know as well.
Yes.
One question. Sorry, Roberta, did I cut you off?
No, you didn't, Julie. Carry on.
It's lovely to see you.
Thank you.
I will get asked this question. I get asked it all the time, whatever it is. It is a vegan product.
Yes.
Right?
Plant-based, yes, and we are looking to actually get full vegan certification for our company as well. So, that will be a process that we embark on to ensure that we're trying at every point of the processing side to ensure that our products are ethical, cruelty-free, and, that are ethical in terms of ensuring that, the production is done, that the workers in producing this are taken care of. So the chain of production for us is very important, and we want to ensure that it's ethical and crystal clear all the way through.
Lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, it's more from a business perspective, isn't looking at the research you mentioned, if this has been around for 170 years, why has no one else tried to do this? Yeah. If they have done it, has there been lessons that you've learned from what they tried to implement and it didn't work that you've adapted now?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. That's a great question. So, Tony, one of the things is that it's actually it's a tricky product to manufacture. So this was discovered by a Scottish chemist, and it's got a lot of processes that it needs to go through to be able to extract the product. So my understanding is that actually it was in Japan that they actually came up a few decades ago, where they came up with a method to extract it for wider use in the food industry, and it has been used in pharmaceutical industry and in the food industry. But I believe this is the food industry's biggest kept secret for a very good reason, because sugar is so cheap to bulk products up with. And there is a little bit of a conspiracy theorist in me that gets a bit angry about this, because this has been kept from us as the general public. And this could have been put in our food to make the food safer for us to consume and palatable. And yet the foods have been bulked up by cheap sugar that has been making us all ill and fat. So very much. And so I think the processing has been the reason that it's not been jumped on. The sugar industry itself, where they wanted to continue to bulk products up and put more and higher percentages of sugar in the products. So that's the other reason this has been kept very much under the table. I believe they knew about this. They did know about this decades ago. It's been around for decades in the food industry, but it's been kept very much hush-hush. It costs more to manufacture, so it means that the foods can't be bulked up cheaply with sugar if they use erythritol. So that's the reason.
Thank you. And it seems, I listened to the interview you did with Janie, you put out with the newsletter and today. It does sound an amazing product. And one of you mentioned at the beginning, Nabila, is important to me, is the sort of deprived areas are the ones that need this the most. Yet most things is normal, is out with their price range. Anything seems to be healthier. And maybe you're right, it's an economic thing with the mass markets then, because buying a bar of chocolate is cheaper than buying apples and oranges. So it's trying to get something like this across. If you could find a way of getting that to the deprived areas and it'd be amazing for the difference it could make to them. The money would save the actual economy. If you think with NHS, and as Luke's mentioned a couple of things, dentistry, nothing else from these areas is one of the biggest problems they actually have. And you can eradicate that. And what I would say is, yeah, look, great, you've got great, the business acumen you've got with that, but Nabila, please don't lose your passion. See if you do that and you put that across, people will go for it just by the way you actually talk about it. Your passion is amazing that comes across, and how it's going to help people, because that's something you definitely want to use and package that in your marketing.
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah, I think one of the things, Nabila, you're right next to Blaenau Gwent, aren't you? And what we want to do is, one of the things that we've also said is, what is not a success for us is for somebody to go and buy a pouch of Zukr and then it sit in the cupboard. So one of the reasons that we're saying, let's have some engagement, let's talk to people about how to use it, how to kick sugar out of their cupboards, is that we want people to start, we don't want this to sit in the back of somebody's cupboard. We actually had, we did some research very early on with people, and they said, oh, do you know, I think I've got a packet of this, and they actually did have it in their cupboard, and they hadn't used it for 6 months. So we want to avoid that. We want to, get it into hospitals where people are, lying in bed eating sticky toffee pudding and custard.
What is going on in hospitals?
And we want to do that. So if we could get this product and pretty much give it away, because that's the thing, is that the thing that we need to do is get the engagement, possibly even, this is the hard sell for us, is the hard part is going to be where we can say to a local authority, can you take 2 tons of our product? We will package it out over in Mountain Ash with a contract packer, and then give it to the families that actually need it. And we do that at cost. But the hard sell is actually going to persuade a council or a local authority that the cost savings for the dentistry work and the type 2 or type 1 diabetics, the billions that are saved on the back end, can we convert that to a front end cost? So even if we sell them a ton that could go into a hospital or a school, and even if they reduce the sugar consumption by half, that would be a massive win for us. So we're totally on board with that. And if we say get some of the deprived communities that, this, we don't hide the fact that this is way way more expensive than sugar. But if we can give it away at cost and get people to start using it, and then there's the knock-on health benefit, that for us is where that's our big win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what on earth is going on in hospitals? Who is thinking that it's okay to give people in hospitals sugar in their diet? I mean, when you start looking at what on earth is going on in our schools, how are we giving children sugar as part of their everyday diet? So these are the questions. And then when you see what's going on in the street at the grassroots level, you see this is not acceptable. So we're going to be very much challenging this. The science around this is irrefutable. So we will be linking up with, really hardcore scientists from all the way up and across the world around this, because, really sugar should have a health warning on it. Not our product. Our product should not be carrying a health warning. We know now, if somebody came up with a new product and it said, by the way, this is delicious and it causes diabetes and it causes heart disease and it causes inflammation and it feeds cancer and it goes, but a little bit of it won't hurt you. Nobody would get a license to bring out a product like that now. And yet it is a default sweetener in all of our foods. And that is, to me, unacceptable. So, our campaigning won't stop until sugar has a health warning on it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Any further questions? I know we're really right at the top of the hour again. So any further questions at all? Anybody? Otherwise, we should let Luke and Nabila get on with their day. And
one last. Can I ask make one last point? And this is something that's slightly off at a tangent, and that is there is an economic impact. British producing sugar beet. Sugar beet is harvested later in the year, which means there's more soil stuck to sugar beet. And sugar beet is we're then losing topsoil because we're washing it away. So there's an environmental impact there. British farmers would be, and it would be great for us to be able to get British farmers to start growing peas or carrots that are healthy rather than sugar beet, which we don't need. And then the second thing that the British Sugar have done, as I mentioned to you, Janie, recently, is that the British Sugar have convinced the government to allow a pesticide that kills bees to now be licensed in the UK. So, we've got another angle, which is the environmental as well.
So, you know, so thank you so much for having us. And I
can't
reiterate that more. We're so passionate to make an impact to the economy, to the environment, and to people's lives. So that, you know, we're passionate for this, and it's way beyond a business, way, way beyond.
That really comes across, as Tony quite rightly said. So thank you so much for being with us today. You've really generously shared some fantastic tips for people. I think it's very daunting. I think if you know, I see this a lot. People come up with some fantastic ideas for products and services, but they just simply don't know where to start. So I think hearing your story is extremely inspirational, because, you know, you're going head to head with the sugar industry, and you know, it is a real sort of David and Goliath situation. But the thing is, you're making it work, and you're doing it so brilliantly, and you're kind of going in the back door. You're not actually going in the sort of the normal route of trying to, you know, get a product into Tesco's and so on. And I think it's absolutely fantastic. So, you know, absolute hats off to you guys. Incredibly courageous, with a brilliant product that's going to solve so many issues. And I see, Luke, you've just put your email address there in the chat box. So if anybody's got any questions, you can email Luke at Luke, L-U-K-E, at Zukr, Z-U-K-R, .co.uk, and that is the website address as well, isn't it? zukr.co.uk, Zukr. Also, if anybody's in any doubt at all, just click on the little right arrow at the very bottom of the video here. If you're looking at this on YouTube, you'll see that the show notes open up, and so we'll have all of Luke and Nabila's contact details there for you as well. And then finally, just to finish off, guys, I know that you are doing a giveaway, so can you just explain exactly what people need to do in order to be able to get hold of the giveaway that you were speaking about earlier?
So yeah, I think I'm happy to mention, we will provide you with a link for that. It's a brand new launch for a free a sample of Zukr, which has a small shipping fee for it, and then as part of that you get plenty of other amazing education and bonuses, and then you'll be anybody that's part of that list, it goes straight to the top of our VIP list, because we really want to nurture and love our communities that we're building online and in person. So, you know, we'll provide you with the link for that, Jane, which is slightly different to our normal Zukr.co.uk. It's got a slightly different website name, and then you'll be able to click on that and access the free plus shipping offer. So really excited for that.
Brilliant. Okay, that's a fantastic thing to be doing. Thank you so very much. I can't wait to get cracking with my next brownie pack. We've already made one of your brownie packs, which is amazing. I just loved the idea of being able to just chuck everything in a bowl and you know, with like minimal effort and end up with the most delicious brownies ever. And I just was so impressed that you have engineered such a clever product. So thank you so much, guys. It's been absolutely brilliant being with you. Thank you so much to everybody for attending today. It's always wonderful to see you, and we really look forward to seeing your next adventures. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Bye.